Okay, we've been talking about our Messiah's everlasting reign and why that's important for us today. And last time we talked about how the reality of his everlasting reign gives us confidence, and it tells us about where we are in the story. I talked about these two kind of sections of the church made up of all of the believers in Christ. That there's the church triumphant, those who have fought the good fight, that are awaiting the future reign of Christ as they rest with Christ. And then there is the church militant, that is those who are still in the fight, those who are living in this not yet part of the history of God's work and the history of Christ's reign. And so I think the second reason that it's significant for us that our Messiah is one who exercises an everlasting reign is because that his reign is everlasting means that what we do matters. Our life has purpose. Our life has eternal purpose. And so when we think about his everlasting reign, the fact that what we do matters, the fact that we are part of the church militant, we are part of this ground war that's occurring. And so we need to be in the fight. We need to be a part of it. We need to be working for our King's everlasting reign because it's forever. It's eternal. And it's important to remember, I think, that if that's the case, that things have purpose. We know we serve a God that there's no mistakes. There's nothing that's done kind of haphazardly. Even as we think of the first coming of Christ, there was no haphazardness with that, nor should we think that there's any kind of haphazardness with his intermediate period of his reign and his future second coming as well. I think of Galatians chapter 4, verse 4 and 5. It says, "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons." And so I'm just hanging on that phrase there, when the fullness of time had come. There was a point that God was waiting for in order to bring about the birth of Christ. There were things that needed to line up, things that were going to take place in order for his plan to walk forward. And we shouldn't think that that's not the case for his second coming as well. And in fact, Paul speaking in 2 Thessalonians says, "Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day," speaking of that day of Christ's return, "it will not come unless the rebellion comes first and unless the man of lawlessness is revealed." Now, there's lots of you that would love for me just to delve into who is this man of lawlessness and what's that all about. But this is take 5, not take 5 years. And so we don't have the time to go into all those details. But what we see from that passage is the return of Christ, his second coming. There's a design, there's a purpose. There are things that will take place preceding that event. And we're a part of all of that time in between. Whenever Christ returns, we are a part of that group that is waiting for it. And so that what we do in the meantime matters. The conversations we have, the impact we have in people's lives, the way we raise our kids in the next generation, all of these things are a part of this grand story that God is carrying out in his reign. And what we see right now is this not yet reign, where he is ruling and reigning at the Father's side, and yet we are in the ground war, going through all of the parts of his plan, waiting for that time when he will come and reveal himself, and we will enter into our eternal rest. And so while eternity might be a hard thing to grasp, remember that we serve a king whose reign is eternal, that we are a part of. And so the things that we do now, the decisions we make, are things that impact eternity. And we'll talk to you next time.